recognize our guest speaker, Colonel Randy Newman. Randy left active duty in September of 2013. He served in the Marine Corps as an infantryman for 28 years. He served as an enlisted Marine and as a commissioned officer. Colonel Newman deployed to many countries throughout his time in the Marine Corps. Most recently, he participated in operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. Upon retiring from the Marine Corps, he returned to Western Wayne County with his wife Hillary and son Vincent, where he helps manage his family's farm. I would now like to welcome our speaker, Colonel Randy Newman.
Hi, good morning. Oh, come on now, you can give me something. Good morning. Hi. Thank you. Hey, it's a great honor to be here. Thank you. It's a great honor. This day is a great honor. Gentlemen and ladies all represent, try to, veterans writ large, although I'm a Marine, so you know that's not an easy thing for a fellow to do. But I'll try my best. Thank you for your service. And you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that my dad, who I currently help out on the farm, is 98 years old, veteran of World War II from the Navy. He probably outworks me on a daily basis, so he's a great man. I want to talk a little bit about veterans. 28 years of service in the Marine Corps is what I did as an infantryman, most recently with a lot of time in Iraq and Afghanistan in conflict. But I thought it's probably best that I talk just a little bit about service writ large, and then a little bit about the veterans, men that are veterans, men and women that are veterans that I got to see in conflict. So out of 28 years, I probably spent, about 15 of that visiting other countries in the world, somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 different countries where we went to either to help out or to whoop on someone that wasn't helping out so much. But the thing that came to me from that is great appreciation for the country in which we live. Because sometimes if you don't get a chance to visit other countries, you cannot fully appreciate what it is we get to have on a daily basis. You watch the news or something like that, and there's no lack of things where we're not perfect. And I'm not saying we're perfect, but I'm telling you that elsewhere in our world today live people under circumstances that we would not find even remotely acceptable. And yet the United States military goes throughout the world to either threaten violence to people who want to influence their people by violence or do bad things in the world. But we also carry forth the banner of democracy and let folks know that there could potentially be a better way. So for the bulk of my career, I spent time doing that, and it left me with a great appreciation that we must remain forever thankful for what we get the freedom to do here in our own country. So I would offer to you that the last 10 years, a lot of time in Iraq and Afghanistan, addressing people who didn't desire for their countrymen to live in peace. And so out of that, I had an opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants. And the view standing on the shoulders of giants is a great view. And those giants that are the men and women that I serve with, folks like these folks who are veterans who signed up to serve our country. And then I just got to go along for the ride and do my part. And so out of watching those giants work, it came to me that there were some attributes of them that made them giants, that made them the people that I respect the most, made me a better man watching them, and made me a better Marine. I'll start with being humble, humility. Invariably, the men that I served with would say that it wasn't all about them, that they didn't do anything heroic. Oftentimes they did. But they would always say that it was a team effort. And so I'm one of the first ones to say that thank goodness that being in the military is a team sport, because I was never great individually at any singular sport or anything in my life. But I could join a team and go out and do things beyond what any of us individually can do. Those giants that I mentioned were loyal to their country and to their fellow, in my case, Marine. So our motto ran everywhere we went, that no man fights alone. With the message being to someone that we all go onto the battlefield today. Some of us may come back, some of us may not, but you will not fight alone. You will not be left there. That loyal bond between folks was something that I thought was very remarkable. There's also loyalty to country. A dedication to our country. Our country orders us into a fight, and we go, that's our bid. Country orders you in, your fellow Marines, fellow soldiers, fellow sailors, fellow airmen are what gets you through. And so a loyalty to one another, the connection between other humans, is what made it possible to do some of the things that those men and women did. They were courageous. I wish I had more time to tell you the number of stories about courageous young men wearing our uniform and what they would do. It's remarkable. Things you couldn't imagine. Men who would lean into a full-on firefight that would almost convince anyone that you wouldn't come back out of it whole. But they would lean into it as a group, come out the other side, maybe a little nicked up, but by and large whole. It made me remember the fact that no man goes into any circumstance and doesn't experience fear. But being courageous is the ability to overcome that fear to do something. And those giants that I served with indeed did that. The other thing that is remarkable to me from my service is that they were active problem solvers. I'm sure y'all get a chance to do group activities enough to know that there are some folks who can just kind of describe for you the problem and talk to you about what's not good or what needs to be solved. Fewer still are the people who come in, recognize the problem, and then actively do something to solve the problem. Be an active problem solver. That's what the men and women I served with were. And it makes dealing with the problems that everyone's going to face much easier to get to the other side of. Lastly, I'll mention selflessness. So selfless service is what makes our nation a great nation to be a citizen of. The willingness to put something ahead of self, that's what selflessness is. And so if you think about the veterans, these men and women who served their country, simply said they would serve their country, put loyalty to their country and allegiance to their country well before their own personal safety. So humility, loyalty, courageousness, being an active problem solver, selflessness, would be the things that I would encourage you to take away from my experience so that you don't have to have my experience.
Bing, bing.
The last thing I'd leave you with is, it was mentioned the history of World War I. And if you haven't studied World War I, it was called at one time the war to end all wars. There was a belief that it had been so violent, so many lives lost, that it would discourage mankind from ever engaging in war again. That was 1918, and I don't need to convince y'all that there's been a fair amount of warfare since. So there was a fellow by the name of John Stuart Mill who said the following: war is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. The decayed and degraded state of moral and patriotic feeling which thinks that nothing is worth a war, is much worse. A man who has nothing which he is willing to fight for, nothing which he cares more about than his own personal safety, is a miserable creature who has no chance of being free, unless made and kept so by the exertions of better men than him. So, what I would offer to you is that human beings being human beings, there's guaranteed to be conflict in your life. But the only way we get to the good side of any conflict is by relying upon those giants that I talked to you about. People being willing to put something ahead of self and solve whatever problem might be out there. Your generation has got to continue to do that. So as we think about Veterans Day, there's often discussion about, should I say Happy Thanksgiving or Happy Veterans Day? What should I say on Veterans Day? What I would encourage you to do is be not a person of words, but a person of deeds. Go into your future with an idea of being a selfless servant to your fellow human being and to your country. And if you do that, that'll provide me as a veteran, and I think all of you, the greatest things that we can give.
Crazy.
Thanks very much.